50 Cent stuck in my head this morning.
Oh, yeah.
Yep, in the club. That song, they played it over there like days ago, and now it's resurfaced. Good morning. Are you rolling a blunt or packing a bowl? I don't know. That's a personal question. That's up to you. A blunt if you're planning on just kind of hanging out for a while, and a bowl if you're planning on hitting it and quitting it. I guess, but those are not hard and fast rules. You can just pack multiple bowls, you see. Bum, 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 bum. You can find me in the club, walking a dog in the woods and smoking a bowl. It seems like you need one extra hand.
You definitely couldn't do that with Dynor. Dynor is a horrible walking dog.
I don't know. I think if we were out in the woods, Dynor would be pretty good until he saw a squirrel or some shit. And he'd be gone.
No, I just mean like trying to smoke a bowl and hold Dynor.
Oh, yeah.
So
Keep him off leash. If he was off leash, it would be better.
Yeah.
But if he was on leash,
Those tangling, stopping, starting.
does Dynor need a leash? I know the dogs I used to be around with my road dogs would always stick with them without a leash. I don't know. I mean, Dynor definitely does not like leashes. I would say he needs leashes in places where it would be dangerous, but not in places where it wouldn't. So, like, if you're out in the middle of the woods together, I don't think Dynor would need a leash. He would probably just walk with me, stay within, 20 feet of me. You don't want to do it? What about me? You want to come up here and see my heat? Oh, okay. Show everybody your pink sweater. Show everybody your lovely pink sweater. Okay, there you go. You guys got a blessed Dynor visit. You got a pretty pink sweater. How old is Dynor? Dynor is, he'll be turning 5 soon. He turns 5 around Christmas time. Well, around January, I guess. Can't remember exactly what his birthday is. I think it's like January 4th. Huh? Yeah, it's about to be 2022. 16... 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. It's not going to be 6. I don't think he's 6 yet. Maybe I'm wrong. No way you're 6. That just can't be. That's too old. I am bad with time, yeah. I have stayed bad with time, for sure. Well, Dinor is either turning 5 or 6, depending on who you believe. Weed, please. Don't do it to me, weed. Oh. Yeah, he's of the age now where he would start hiding his age anyway.
Yeah.
I'm 5-ish, you know. Somewhere around there. 5-esque. Thoughts on Delta 8? I every time somebody mentions it, I want to ban them. That's my thoughts. Like I can't think of something that would be of less interest to me than what people in blighted ass southern places do instead of weed. You know what I mean? Like, why would you think I'd care? I live in fucking California, and I'll never again live in a state where weed is illegal. So why the fuck would I need to be sucking on Delta 8, bro? There's just no point. Hey, bro, what's your thoughts on what we're doing down here in the South to get high? It's like nothing. Sucks to be you, I guess. There's my thoughts on Delta 8. If you were having a suck on Delta 8, sucks to be you. Oh. Shut up. I want to hear any more about your sad situation, your sad sack situation down south. Delta 8 sad people. Fuck that shit. I don't know anything about Delta 8. I hope I never smoke Delta 8 in my life. I hope I go to my grave not knowing what Delta 8 fucking feels like or looks like or smells like. The second farthest north state? Then you should have weed, right? Most of the northern states all have weed that I can think of. What would it be? What would be the second farthest north state? I guess I assume you're not counting Alaska. So Montana, Michigan, Maine, Vermont. Minnesota. Oh. Minnesota.
Just looking at your like old diner pics. I found this one.
Oh, gee. We had to put him in panties. That's when he got fixed.
Yeah.
You had to wear panties. Technically, recreational is legal in New Jersey, but nobody is allowed to sell it still. What's the holdup? There's like several states that are hovering in that. Like, yeah, you can smoke weed, but nobody can sell it yet. Weak, weak. It's like the area I live in now doesn't have a weed shop. It's like, Cali weed has been legal. How long now? At least 2 years, 3 years? Something like that? Like fully rec legal? And there's still cities that don't have a fucking dispensary in them? Like a walk-in? Whatever. No skin off my hump. Oh yeah, dude. My area has tons of infrastructure left over from California's previous like legal status, which was medical. So they've got tons of these little grow ops and medical dispensaries that can't have a storefront. And so I can get any type of weed I want delivered, but I can't walk into a weed shop where I'm at. I'd have to go like to the next town over, I think, to even find a walk-in place for weed, which is very strange. In my mind, especially knowing this area, growing up in it, this place would have been like, if you would have asked me, it would have been like dotted with weed stores. So many people out this way smoke, but whatever, man. Whatever, man. Is what it is, I guess. was talking to one of those Twitter spaces the other day, and there's a dude from upstate New York, and he was bitching. He was like, "Man, dude, I can't believe you're leaving California, Paul Zigo." I'm like, "Why?" Because man, there's so much to do. I was like, "There's nothing to do where you're at? In upstate New York, there's nothing to do?" It's like, "No, man, there's nothing to do." I was like, "Well, what do you think there is to do in California?" He was like, "Go to beaches." I was like, "Upstate New York has beaches." Like the food and stuff. I was like, "Dude, there's no way that like food is much different in upstate New York than it is where I am in Cali." It's just funny. Like people have this perception of California. They always have, I think, is this like monolithic beach, sunny state where everything is just a little better than everything else. I think it's just like California propaganda, honestly.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm certainly guilty of purveying that propaganda myself.
People they don't understand how wide California is too.
Yeah, and long.
It's like not pretty sure like at least half the state would have to drive at least 3 hours to get to a beach.
Pretty much, yeah. As a New Yorker, there really isn't much to do upstate. I mean, like, what do you mean to do? That's the thing, is like, I guess as I get older, I'm wondering, like, what do you mean when you say there's nothing to do up here? Like, no clubs?
New York's not that big of a state. If you're willing to go 3 hours, you could probably go to a lot of places.
Yeah, and not only that, but like, I don't know, I just can't think of something that wouldn't be upstate that, I mean, I guess like, you don't have New York City, so you don't have all the craziness of that, but unless you're looking for that.
And even then, New York City's not that fucking far away. It's
Yeah.
not like we can just go to LA whenever we want. It's a little hike for us, but it's
Yeah.
there if we want it.
LA's like a 5-hour drive for us. But if we want to go to LA, we can do that. You guys are way closer to New York, and you're bitching about nothing to do. I think the right-wingers in Cali are a lot worse than other parts of the U.S. They're about the same. They're about the same right-winger.
Yeah, they're just cooked.
Yep. I grew up in upstate New York, just moved. There's really not much to do in U.S. NY. If you live in the rural areas, the internet speeds are some of the slowest in New England. Yeah, that kind of sucks.
Worries me a little bit about us moving to Montana.
Yeah.
Because, like, on all those coverage maps, it's always kind of a wasteland.
Yeah, well, you know.
But it'll be worth it to live in Montana, man.
That's true. So true. Gotta love Montana. I'm going to Montana soon. There's a Frank Zappa song called Moving to Montana, I think it's called. Or just Montana. Or Going to Montana. I can't remember. It's a great song, though.
We gotta play it on our way to Montana.
Yeah, we'll play it the whole way there. We'll just put it on repeat while we're going to Montana. Yeah, dude. Elon needs to hurry up with the Starlink shit. That's what I hope. Here's what I hope happens. I hope I move. I hope about halfway through my first year, halfway through my lease at whatever apartment or fucking townhouse or whatever it is I gotta rent, halfway through that, the housing market takes a fucking shit. And all of a sudden, everybody's trying desperately to sell their house. What's your problem? Nobody is going to be intimidated by you wearing a pink sweater with a penguin on it, buddy. You just don't even realize. Yeah, so like halfway through that, the housing market crashes. And then like 2 months after that, Elon Musk announces that he's ready to start Starlink. I'm buying a house I'm buying a log cabin in the middle of nowhere with gigabit internet. Gabagool, dude. TJ's obsessed with the word gabagool now.
Yeah. He won't sit down and watch the fucking show, man.
Yeah, he won't finish it. He watched like the first 4 seasons of The Sopranos, and then he stopped watching it. And I was like, why'd you stop watching The Sopranos, dude? Just finish it up. You got 2 more seasons or whatever. And he was like, nah, it got boring. I was like, what? He's obsessed with the word gabagool now, though. We did a grease trap yesterday, and I'd say probably like 15 minutes of it are just TJ going like, give me the gabagool!
He's never gonna watch the Many Saints of Newark because there's his least favorite actor in it.
Yeah, that's true. I don't know why he fucking hates him so. What's his name so much? Yeah, Ray Liotta. Why does he hate Ray Liotta so much? Oof, Maron. I know. Ray Liotta was really good in Many Saints. One of the.
He's gotten easier to look at as he's gotten older too. His face doesn't look as weird the older he's gotten.
Only when he laughs. He did the Liotta laugh in the movie, and I was like, oh, all right. His Liotta laugh. That thing. It's like, it's still there. It's still there. But no, I thought Ray Liotta was one of the best things about Mini Saints, honestly. And it was really not expecting it to be that. I thought, in fact, that his cameo was over real quick, you know.
Yeah.
But it turns out to be more important than you think. But I thought he was I'm trying to think of the character that I would compare him to in the original series, like in terms of his. I guess there really isn't one. Maybe that's why I liked him so much. He was like this kind of like old, wizened, wise guy who had given up on it, not because he had to, but because he really had no choice. He was in prison, had this kind of world-weary way of looking at it all.
Kind of becomes Johnny Sacks.
A little bit. Johnny Sacks never gives up, though.
Yeah.
You can tell that Ray Liotta's character in Many Saints had given up.
It's transcended.
Yeah. The dude who played young Silvio was spot on. Yeah. I thought all of the kind of like cameos of younger people were really good. I thought the guy that played younger Junior was really good. Young Silvio, young Paulie. There's a few other ones in there. I liked seeing Joey Diaz.
I think they fucked up Janice. Janice got done a little dirty.
Well, she just wasn't in it.
Yeah.
Like, she didn't, like, I think Janice would have been interesting if she got to, like, act like Janice a little more.
Yeah.
But she was just kind of there to be like, and Janice was there, too.
Yeah.
Janice was kind of around when this stuff was going down. There she is in the background. See her there? Yeah, I think if Janice had been a more important part of the story, then that would have been a better, more believable kind of thing. But whatever. What's her name playing Livia was really good.
Yeah, the Conjuring
Yeah.
movies.
I can't remember what her name is, but she was really good as Livia Soprano. I've started to get people like saying that they've gotten to see Dune now and that they were like disappointed by it.
They're probably trolling you too.
Probably. Maybe. Just had a few people reach out and be like, dude, Paul, I got to see Dune and I was like super disappointed. Just really felt like disjointed. And one guy was like, dude, Dune should not be PG-13. It was a movie that clearly needed a hard R rating and they made it PG-13 and that killed it. And I'm just like, oh fuck, man.
You gotta go back and look at the comments from all of your opinions for that episode.
I guess so. I guess. I'm just worried it's gonna suck. Because if it does, man, I'm not gonna be able to not say it sucks. I can't delude myself anymore.
Are you gonna yeet all your figurines if you don't like it?
Yeah, I might box those up. Put them back in the box. Oh, D. Oh, D. What a bum that's soaking up the sun. Oh. Good morning, have some money. Why, thank you, sir. movie quality is less subjective than music quality. Wrong. Wrong, dude. There are people that watch the worst movies in the world and will sit there and tell you that they're the most brilliant fucking films, unironically. There's no accounting for taste, dude.
You both have family members. You'll have moms really that have horrible taste.
Oh my God. My mother, I have no idea how I was birthed from her. She has utterly the worst taste in film that you've ever seen, dude. And like I said, there's no accounting for taste. My mom loved that movie Knowing.
Yeah.
With Nick Cage, yeah. She loved it. Like, talked about it with me like 8 separate occasions. Brought up Knowing. Knowing is like her Dune, you know, or her fucking Many Saints of Newark or whatever the fuck, you know what I mean? She watches the movie and she gets out of that what I get out of watching like A Clockwork Orange or whatever, you know? And she doesn't like it's the taste goes that deep. Like, she doesn't like good movies and she likes bad ones. See, my mom has different expectations for films. I've actually examined in my mind before and talked with her about like what exactly is the basis of your taste in movies. And it makes sense when you kind of go through her history. So my mom grew up at a time when going to the movies was a very popular national pastime, but she was never able to afford to do it. She was so poor that going to the movies was like, you know, going to Disneyland or some shit. Just may as well have been that unattainable for her. And so she didn't grow up watching movies or watching the TV. Even though both those mediums were widely available when she was young. And when she got to be, you know, an adult, she started watching TV, but the only thing that interested her really were soap operas. Now, soap operas are an interesting medium. They really are. Because they're like, almost like quasi-live theater, the way that they were shot. They were shot semi-live, one take, like theater. And very, very focused on simple, easy to understand themes. Rotating themes of romance and betrayal and intrigue. And they just do the same thing over and over and over. And my mom would put those on while she was puttering around the house, cleaning, cooking breakfast for the kids, getting ready for work, whatever, right? And that's basically where her taste for that level of entertainment comes from. So her expectations for a film are that they engage her on that level that kind of soaps engage her. Really, honestly, simple to get into and to get out of. You don't really have to pay attention to every little thing to understand what's going on. Easy to identify characters that are very like distinctive and easy to talk about and easy to archetype, like all of those things. So if a movie is that, my mom's gonna love it. If a movie defies that convention, she's gonna hate it. So my mom can't stand movies like Clockwork Orange and shit. She likes horror movies. I guess that's where we get the crossover, but even then.
Well, also, you're a lot more forgiving with horror movies. You'll like a lot of bad horror movies.
True. Yeah, that's true. Don't do it. Nobody is intimidated by a little floof in a pink sweater. So don't do it. Being a very divisive film so far in the reviews. Have you watched Halloween Kills? And if so, what were your thoughts? I have not. And I'll let you know, if and when I watch it. I'm really not the guy to ask about it, to be honest with you. I've been so over the slasher genre of horror for so long that I'm really out of the fucking... I haven't even seen the, like, remake of Halloween that recently came out. or not the I guess it was a remake, or am I thinking of Friday the 13th? I might be thinking of Friday the 13th. Anyways, I don't watch that shit. It's the one genre of horror that really does not interest me. Slasher movies don't interest me. I feel like that when I was a kid, I watched so much of that type of movie that it has to do something a little different. Like, for example, we watched Final Destination. Yeah. That's a slasher movie, kinda, but it turns the convention on its head, where instead of a slasher, you've got everyday objects and everyday scenarios that are the killer stalking the people. And so it's convention-defying slasher shit.
It's almost like Rube Goldberg's Machines of Death.
Yeah. And you're trying to put, like, it's a wonderful thing, because like you're watching the movie, like once you understand the gimmick, you're watching the movie trying to put together in your head, like, what's going to happen? He's going to hit that. It's going to bounce into that. It's going to explode and knock him out the window or whatever the fuck, It's a great subversion of the slasher genre. It made people really care about what was going to happen, and not...
Like, really focus on, like, the sets when they wouldn't normally...
Yeah. And it allowed for a lot of cool camera trickery, where some of it was to, like, draw your eye away and make you think something was going to happen when something else was going to happen. Other times they were dropping little hints about what was going to happen. It's good. But yeah, the big burly dude in a mask with a knife chasing people around shit. Sorry. That shit just doesn't even fucking hit on a single cylinder for me anymore. You seen the movie Come and See? Nope, I have not. So I definitely like, when it comes to horror movies, I definitely like apocalyptic horror, and I like psychological horror. I would say that those two subgenres of horror are probably my favorite. And then overarching both of those, I would say that I'm more of a supernatural horror guy than a, like, body horror. So body horror would be like, the viscera and the guts and the blood. Saw is a body horror franchise, and I'm okay with Saw. Like, I don't know. I'm here or there on Saw, really. A lot of people really are into that kind of, like, torture porn, body horror kind of shit. And for me, I'm much more into, like, the supernatural, psychological kind of horror, or the big, bombastic, apocalyptic horror. I really like those kind of subgenres of horror, but I do my best to avoid the types of movies that I really don't like. Midsummer. Yeah, Midsummer is really good.
Are there any other, like, alien horror movies you like besides Alien franchise and Dreamcatcher?
Aliens. I'm sure that there are. I'd have to think about it for a minute. The first Species was pretty good. It's kind of an inverted slasher flick with a female slasher. Species is about, like, an alien egg that falls out of the sky, and it copies, like, a hot chick, basically. Yeah. And so she looks like a hot chick, and it's the whole movie she is basically her, like, seducing men so that she can eat them. Another really good one in that same vein, honestly, is Under the Skin with Scarlett Johansson. Kind of blends the alien and psychological horror, and is really, like, stark and wonderful. We need to watch that one together. I think that you would really like Under the Skin, visually, at least. And it's probably my favorite Scarlett Johansson role. Either that or Lost in Translation. But anyway, yeah, there's a couple of alien ones. Some of my earliest horror movie memories were of alien movies. They used to be way more popular for like alien invasions to be a thing. And so, like, there's an old movie that my stepdad Steve showed me, Day of the Triffids. The Day of the Triffids. Old 50s movie about like a plant that they always come on a meteor.
Yeah.
A meteor hits the earth and it's some kind of alien plant is on it and it grows these trees that can uproot themselves and walk around. Those are the Triffids. And then there's fucking Body Snatchers, Invasion of the Body Snatchers, the old 50s one and the remake from the late 70s or early 80s. I can't remember which one. Are really good. They're both really good. In fact, I actually prefer the remake with Donald Sutherland in it. But both of those are really good alien movies. Color Out of Space was a good alien flick.
Oh, I forgot about Predator.
Predator. It's not really a horror movie, though. Kinda. It's got elements of horror, but Predator is really just a big bombastic action set piece.
Yeah. Muscles.
So many muscles. Life Force, yeah, that's a pretty good one from the 80s. You like transformation horror, like Kafka's Metamorphosis. Well, when you're talking about movies, The Fly comes up when you talk about that type of thing. Obviously, The Fly, very much inspired by Kafka's Metamorphosis. So, and The Fly is also body horror. Oh God, who was it? David Cronenberg. So David Cronenberg is a good example of a dude who does body horror so well that I like it. That I really enjoy most of the films that he made. Cronenberg did The Thing, which is, I don't think you've seen The Thing yet. We should probably watch The Thing together too, because it's got probably, arguably, the best practical effects ever done in a film. I would say the only thing that even rivals it in terms of like the height of practical effects shooting is Aliens. And that movie is just unimpeachably beautiful. That's John Carpenter? You're right. Cronenberg didn't do The Thing. You're right. Well, fucking A. But a good example of like definitely body horror that's really good. What did Cronenberg do other than The Fly? Or was it John Carpenter that did The Fly? The Thing uses jump scares at the best. Yeah. There's some actually decent jump scares in The Thing, which is pretty good.
Cronenberg did Fly. He also did Videodrome.
Videodrome is really good as well. Super subversive, way more psychological / body horror.
Did Dead Ringers.
Dead Ringers, yeah. Dead Ringers was great. I hadn't seen Dead Ringers my whole life. We watched it together, like a year and a half or so now? And that movie's great. Fucking one of my favorite Jeremy Irons performances. Easily.
He did The Dead Zone, too.
I liked that movie a lot, too. That's one of the best King adaptations, for sure. Brain Dead. I think I've seen Brain Dead, but I can't remember it. When it comes to like the peak of like gore horror, like body horror that's about guts and blood and shit, my favorite of that genre is it was marketed as Dead Alive here, and I think it was marketed as Brain Dead in New Zealand, but it's a is Brain Dead Dead Alive. It was made by fucking what's his name that made The Lord of the Rings of all people. God damn it. What is his name? Peter Jackson. It was a very early Peter Jackson movie. It's a different one you're talking about, yeah. But yeah, Dead Alive was probably the most surprising movie I ever rented. Was Dead Alive. Me and my dad. I remember this is after my parents got divorced. Me and my dad were living in his bachelor pad, and went out to fucking rent a movie because we were bored, and we picked it just based on the box and took it home. It was absolutely fucking mind-blowingly good. We watched it twice in a row. It was that good. And then I got to have fun showing it to all my friends because none of them had seen it before too. And it's like one of those movies that just consistently defies your expectations. The Frighteners, I'm not a huge fan of The Frighteners, but whatever. A little too Disney for me. Chili Willy. Oh. Get out of here. Did you ever watch any trauma films? I've seen a couple of them. I never really got into them. Hey, babe.
Yeah.
Could you make another pot of coffee, you think?
More?
Yeah, you don't have to make like a full one, but just enough for me to have another cup. Yep. I feel like drinking coffee today. I usually only have a cup of coffee in the morning, but some mornings, like this morning, I feel like I need another cup of coffee. What? Well, you don't have to do that, baby. You wanted it first. You take the last of the coffee, and I'll wait.
I promise. I'm gonna give you some first. You accept it.
Okay. I'm gonna give you some, and you're gonna like it. Can't argue with that. Can't argue with that logic. Get 2 straws and share it like a milkshake. Oh yeah, we could do that.
That'd be nice to you.
All right. Thank you, baby.
You're welcome.
What famous monster hasn't gotten a movie in a minute? A good one? There hasn't been a really good werewolf movie in a while. Like, I really feel like the werewolf genre peaked with Ginger Snaps. I haven't seen a really good werewolf flick in a while. Stay away from Pumpkinhead unless you're tired of living. His enemies are mostly dead. He's mean and unforgiving. Creature from the Black Lagoon. We actually watched a movie yesterday for our monthly patrons-only movie commentaries that we do over on our Patreon. We watched the Golem, 1920 film. Der Golem, another German expressionist film, and widely considered to be the first movie monster in history. The Golem himself is the first movie monster, based on a story from old Jewish folklore about a rabbi that defends his enclave of Jewish people from outside aggression by using mysticism to raise a golem, like a man made out of clay or whatever. And is listed by most people, if you go look at the list, as the first movie monster. And he's pretty goofy looking. He's pretty goofy. You can tell that none of the tropes to make things scary had really taken root yet. They didn't really know how to do a movie monster, and so you get the Golem. Oh. Do you think it was scary in 1920? That's one of the things we talk about as we're watching it. Is like, I think I brought up the question. I was like, do you think people in 1920 were like shocked and scared by this? And I think we came to the conclusion that there were probably people that were. Yeah, I mean, their expectations for what they were going to see on the screen were not the same for us, right? I mean, you take a guy like me or TJ or anybody that's really into movies and horror movies in particular, and you've seen some fucking horrifying shit on the screen. And so it's really hard to shock a person like me who spent, their whole life watching horror movies. So if you take away all that experiential history, yeah, the Golem might have been pretty fucking terrifying back then. It's hard to imagine how, given our expectations for the genre and stuff, but I often think about how people from that time would react to horror movies of today. Well, you can get some ideas of that. You can start to look at when horror movies modernized. Like, take a look at the kind of hysteria that happened when The Exorcist came out. The Exorcist is a movie that was probably 20 years ahead of its time in terms of practical effects and, just horror imagery and horror storytelling. It's one of the reasons why it tops the list of greatest horror movies on a lot of people's lists, is because it was a full 20 years ahead of its time, redefined the entire horror genre, redefined what was scary on film for a lot of people. And look at how people reacted to that, Gabagool. Give me the gabagool. People reacted similarly to Paranormal Activity. I don't know if I would say that. I do know that Paranormal Activity, the first one that came out, was particularly effective because it was really the first movie to blend the burgeoning kind of found footage genre, which really was popularized by the Blair Witch, to combine found footage with like mundane household shit. Like people were just starting to get things like security cameras in their house. Those sorts of things started to become available, and so these images were very visceral to people that were looking at them. And it came along, you know, like Paranormal Activity is a movie that a lot of people poop on because it just kind of got worse and worse, and they did like 8 of them or whatever, but the first one was pretty good. It's pretty tense. Yeah. Truly being scared by a movie is something that I gave up on a long time ago. I really don't think that every once in a blue moon a movie will come along that can genuinely frighten me, but it's not something I expect going into a horror movie anymore. I feel like my threshold for that is pretty low as a person that's watched as much horror as I have in my life. So every once in a while, a movie will posit something that's actually scary or show me something that is actually frightening or revolting or whatever, and it's always remarkable, but I really don't chase it anymore. I appreciate horror for the compact nature of its storytelling, and I appreciate horror for what it does within the tropes like that have been established for it, and how it constantly, like, it's a genre that constantly seeks to undermine itself, and I love that about horror. Horror is always seeking to reinvent itself while still remaining visceral and relatable like the things that came before it. So I really enjoy that about the genre, and I really do think that we're on the cusp of another kind of like horror renaissance or whatever. So many good horror movies over the last 8 years or so have gone relatively unnoticed by the wider viewing audience, and you're starting to see more and more of them crop up. Little bright spots that seemingly everybody saw, like the Babadook was like this really unexpected hit in like 2014, 2013, whenever it came out. It was really kind of like everybody kind of saw the Babadook. Even people that weren't really into horror movies were talking about it. So I really think we're on the cusp of seeing like a lot more horror, which I'm super happy about, of course. I haven't really lived in a horror-dominated environment since I was a really young kid in the 80s. The Babadook is another one of those movies that's as deep as you want it to be. On the surface of it, it is a boogeyman tale. And underneath the surface of it, it is a meta-analysis of single motherhood, raising a neurodivergent child, loneliness, isolation, sexual unfulfillment. There's just so many very, very human loss. So many very human, tangible human things that are expressed through that horror movie. So it's another one of those movies that, like, I love movies that are like that. I love movies that invite me to grab a shovel and dig a little bit, Still enjoyable on the surface, but they invite me to think about, like, well, what else is going on in this movie? And The Babadook is definitely one of those films. If anything, it's a movie about the horror of losing a spouse and finding yourself raising the child that spouse left behind alone. Like most movies, the worst part of The Babadook is the ending. The ending is kind of lame in The Babadook, but it definitely fits like if you think about it, it ties a bow on the psychological end of things, right? And so a lot of people, I think, were confused by the ending of the Babadook, and it isn't the best ending in a movie, but I do think it's better than people give it credit for. And here's why. Spoiler alert if you haven't seen the Babadook. So if it's true that the Babadook is not a horror movie about the Babadook, but rather a horror movie about losing a spouse, dealing with mental illness, both in yourself and your child, dealing with the isolation of having to work a job and then come home and work another job. If I'm right about that, then the end of the Babadook makes a whole lot more sense. She finds out that, okay, so if you look at the Babadook as a representation of all of the psychological things that are pressing down on this woman's life, once again, single motherhood, employment that takes everything, because if you remember in the movie, she works at an old folks home, so she's surrounded by death and decay and decline all day, and then she comes home to a child who's mentally ill. She herself is mentally ill, and she has to do her best to keep a stiff upper lip and be strong, while all she wants to do is fall apart about losing her husband those many years ago. And so the ending of the Babadook is a well-known psychological principle. So you don't, let me give you an example. And this is an example that was given to me when I was 10 years old by a psychiatrist. Don't think of a fuzzy purple football. Don't think of it. Whatever you do, do not imagine a fuzzy purple football in your head right now. If you do, you're in trouble. Most of you pictured the fuzzy purple football, right? So it shows you the psychological principle of don't think about this. Get over this. Get over this. Get over this. It doesn't work. Beating yourself up over your past traumas. Get over this. Get over this. Get over this. Get over this. Stop thinking about your dead husband. Stop thinking about this. Stop thinking about that. So at the end of the Babadook, she shows us and her son how to handle that. It's a diet of the mind. It's a diet of the mind, right? And so she tells her son she shows her son at the end, here's how you deal with trauma. You don't allow yourself to exist in it all day, but you stop and feed it a little bit every day. You allow yourself to exist in it a little bit every day, and it becomes a little smaller. So she's tamed the Babadook at the end of it. The Babadook being if you're listening to my interpretation of the Babadook, being the physical manifestation in her life of her loneliness, her mental illness, her son's mental illness, her isolation from everybody, right? She's learned that instead of living in a world where she's like, don't think about the Babadook, it's not real, don't ignore the Babadook. She's learned how to master the Babadook by keeping it in the back of her mind. And that's really what people do with trauma. That's how, when you go to therapy, as I have, and as a lot of people have, to contextualize and get over some level of trauma in your life, that's what they teach you how to do. That's exactly what they teach you how to do. They teach you how to chain up the Babadook in your basement, so that it's not something that you're going, don't think about that, and you're constantly obsessing about it and thinking about it and allowing it to drag you down. But you don't allow it to, like, you feed it a little bit. You keep it there. You tame it to be an experience that you had, not an experience that you're having.
I've kind of seen it described as like with grief. It doesn't shrink over time. You just grow around it over time.
Right, and that's exactly what she does. The grief over the loss of her husband is the central thing behind all of the problems in the movie. Her husband not being there to help her with the kid, her husband not being there to provide his income, all of those things, right? And that's what it is. She takes her husband's memory, the Babadook, and locks it in her subconscious and teaches her son how to do the same thing. You don't stop thinking about it. Grief, when you lose a person, there's never a time where you're like, it's not there. That's the point of the movie. She doesn't kill the Babadook. She tames it. She puts it in a place where when she does have to deal with it, she's got a process by which she deals with it that makes it less painful to deal with. Visually represented in the movie is her bringing it a bunch of worms to eat. Right? But let's pretend that's not the point, then what do you think of the ending? If you look at the ending without that context on top of it, it's kind of a lame ending. And I think that a lot of people that watch the movie on a very surface level, and by the way, there's nothing wrong with watching a movie like that. Movies like The Babadook are made for people like me, who like to get out the shovel and go like, wait a minute, what is this person saying about the characters in this movie? And it's also made for people that like, I just want to watch a flick, man, about a monster that haunts a woman and whatever the fuck, you know what I mean? It's enjoyable on both levels. But the ending, I think, loses a little bit of meaning if you don't dig a little bit. That's why I like horror movies. You know, this is far and away not the only example of horror that can be enjoyed that way. It's like Night of the Living Dead is the first horror movie that I ever watched as a kid, and it is laden with portent. It's one of those things when I was a kid, I watched it, and it was a movie about dead people coming back to life and attacking people, and oh my God, you know. And you can definitely watch it still, just like I did, with that same childlike kind of wonder. Or, as an adult, with a little bit of historical context and watching some other movies and with the thoughts of other smart people who have done meta-analysis of the film, you find out that Night of the Living Dead is really a commentary on social upheaval, social collapse, racism, classism. You see all of this shit. And as someone who lost his mother at the age of 17 in a long-time cancer, that's so true about the trauma never completely leaving you. Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, get a profile pic, bud. But yeah, no, a lot of horror movies, not all of them. Like, not all horror movies are like big invitations to, see a bigger picture. But most of them are. Most of them are.
It's just such a good medium to make metaphors like that.
Yeah, because it allows for fantasy to creep in. It allows for direct, visual, impactful metaphors in films, whereas a film based more in reality has to show that in other ways. They have to show that psychological pain non-physically. The best movies, horror or not, are the best when the subtext is greater than the plot. I don't know if that's necessarily true, but I will tell you that one of my favorite things to do, and Amelia and I do this a lot, we watch movies that are sometimes not laden with portent beyond what their initial thing is, you know what I mean? And even movies like that, you can find subtext. So like, what was that movie we watched? Red Dawn.
Yeah.
With Gene Hackman and Denzel Washington, the submarine movie, right?
Or Red Tide.
Is it Red Tide?
I think it is Red Tide.
Well, whatever. Whichever one it is. That's not a movie that's trying to say a whole bunch outside of its main plot point. But it is, if you look at the subtext, a critique of American military preparedness and the dangers of nuclear war and the dangers of geopolitical rancor and blah, 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 right? All of that's going on.
It's just so weird that like it's based on something that happened in Russia. They made it an American movie.
I think it's interesting.
Yeah.
I think it was an interesting choice. I think it definitely made it hit home more for Americans to see that we have these same types of people out there piloting these death machines. who have to make these snap decisions about whether or not to destroy the world. You know what I mean? And it could happen here. So it's an interesting movie. There's a little bit of subtext there, but mostly that movie is just about, you know, being in the moment in the film, watching things develop as they develop on this boat in that kind of tense period of time. I also watched a movie. I watched it the other night while I couldn't sleep, and it's a Paul Thomas Anderson movie. I want to watch it with you, see what you think about it. I'd never seen it. It's one of his earlier movies. It's called Hard Eight, and it's really like a Rosetta Stone for Paul Thomas Anderson movies. It's got P.S. Hoffman in a really amazing but really short like cameo role. It's got a lot of people that crop up in Boogie Nights, like a lot of the people. So what's his name? The guy that plays Reed Rothschild. I always forget his fucking name. Anyway, it doesn't matter. A lot of the people in Boogie Nights are in the movie. And it's a really amazing film. I couldn't believe I hadn't seen it yet. I think I hadn't watched it because I thought it was a gambling movie. And it isn't. It takes place in Vegas, and gambling is like a set piece for it, but it's not a gambling movie. It's a fucking fantastic film. I was blown away. I was like, whoa, how have I not seen this movie? Especially as a fan of P.T. Anderson. I just feel stupid for not having seen it for so long, but it's really good.
And Philip Seymour Hoffman. It's weird that you haven't seen a Philip Seymour Hoffman.
Well, he's barely in it. He's in one scene, but he has a very memorable cameo in the scene, and he plays against type. Like P.S. Hoffman typically played this kind of like...
He said the pain eater.
Yeah. And in this movie, he's just a fucking drunk asshole, you know, with a mullet. It's fantastic to see him playing against type. Wahlberg's not in it. Fucking the other guy, the guy that plays Dirk Diggler's best friend, the porno guy. It doesn't matter, babe. You don't gotta look it up. I know you know it drives me nuts. What is his fucking name? He's also in Chicago. He plays the cucked husband in Chicago. And he's in Step Brothers. Huh?
I was just my phone.
Oh, John C. Reilly. Thank you. It's got Samuel L. Jackson in a really great role as well. Not necessarily, I would say, playing against type, but still a really great role for him. Everybody in it's really good. Gwyneth Paltrow is in it, younger Gwyneth Paltrow, back before she became a cringe factory. I guess she probably still was a cringe factory back then, but she was actively acting and not selling people goop. She was less of a cringe factory, but she's really good in it too. Everybody that's in that movie is fucking fantastic. It's just I can't recommend it highly enough if you haven't seen it. Hard Eight by P.T. Anderson. Gwyneth was always cringe. Gwyneth Paltrow has been in a couple of really good movies, dude. A couple of really good movies. In fact, I'm going to blow you guys' mind. She's in a romantic, I guess it's not a comedy, but like one of those like romance kind of chick flicks that's actually really good called Sliding Doors. And it's good because it's like a think piece romantic movie about potentiality. So you get to see Gwyneth Paltrow's character in two different lives where she made a different decision. And, you know, that it's a very interesting flick. I liked her in that movie. She was also in Shakespeare in Love, I think, wasn't she? I think she was. That's a pretty good flick, too. Royal Tenenbaums, yeah. Not my favorite Wes Anderson movie, but still a good one. The Thinking Man's rom-com.
She was decent on the first Iron Man.
Yeah, I think she plays a good Pepper Potts. I don't know. I don't get the Paltrow hate when it comes to her acting. I think a lot of people, like with Paltrow, like her personal shit bleeds over into her character shit. But I think she's a good actress.
Yeah, she was in Hook too.
Hook?
Yeah.
Gwyneth Paltrow was... Oh, the remake?
Yeah, the one with Robin Williams.
Oh. Who did she play in Hook? What character does it say she played in Hook? She wasn't...
Wendy Darling.
Oh, she played young Wendy. Okay, got it. That's right. That's not a huge role, but yeah, I remember her now. I guess Wendy's old in Hook. Yeah, Wendy Darling. Yeah. She's the original Wendy that goes back to whatever, Neverland.
I'm sorry, I just couldn't be sold on that movie like you were.
No, it's okay. I got a lot of childhood nostalgia for that movie. I do like it. One of the things I like about the movie is how it takes the Peter Pan mythos and updates it, I guess.
Yeah.
I liked that. I liked, the idea of a Peter Pan that has forgotten who he was and has to be retrained and all that. That was cool. And the set pieces were cool. I remember as a kid loving how colorful the movie was. And there's definitely some cringe. A lot of cringe in the movie, but Pan, on the other hand, is horrifyingly bad. I didn't even watch it, so. I don't think Hook should be remade, though. I think Hook stands on its own as a movie. It's also an example of, like, a Disney that was way more willing to make slightly edgy things, even in their main content. Like, if you actually watch Hook is kind of dark for a Disney movie, especially at the beginning when, like, Hook comes and abducts his children. Did you know the guy in Hook puts in the boo box was actually Glenn Close? Really? I didn't know that. Glenn Close in drag, in reverse drag? That's cool. I like that. It's a cool little... I wonder why Glenn Close did that. It's nice out here today. Yeah, we watched Labyrinth not that long ago. Exposed Amelia to the bulgy tights of the Goblin King.
Well, I'd seen it before.
Oh, had you?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I remember you telling me that. Labyrinth is a must-watch. It's one of those movies that, in my opinion, there's not a lot of movies out there to compare it to. And that makes it a must-watch film. Another movie like that for me is the original Neverending Story. Like, if you've never seen that movie, you owe it to yourself to see it one time. Because it is filled to the brim with just, like, amazing filmmaking. And goes to show you, like, how much cooler, like, kids' movies used to be back in the day. And how much more, like, they trusted kids with more adult themes. You know, not necessarily, like, language or sexuality, but more, like, death and, like, really, like, heavy fucking implication. Oh yeah, dude, I was obsessed with Neverending Story when I was a kid.
Which one is it that has the Skeksis?
That is Dark Crystal.
Yeah, I've seen that.
Yeah, another crazy, amazing fucking movie. Just goes to show you, like Jim Henson, his legacy is like these crazy kind of like funny puppets, but he had a different side to him, that's really it comes out in some of his other work, and the Dark Crystal I think is really just like his darkest work, and it's a work where it's like you can't really compare it to much, you know what I mean? It's puppets, you know what I mean? But yeah, it works.
It's a shame that the Netflix series just didn't really resonate with us.
A lot of people liked it. I didn't. I wasn't feeling it,
You
but
just didn't feel like you were craving the other side of that story, really.
no. Yeah, I mean the Dark Crystal movie had those same puppets, and one of the things I liked, and one of the reasons I gave it a shot was because like they were committed to keeping that same look that Jim Henson had envisioned for it, and I liked all of that. I thought there was some really beautiful work done on it. I just was not invested in the plot line of it at all. So failed to grab me, unfortunately. Failed to grab me by the ghoulies.
Before every kids movie had to be like animation by default.
Yeah.
Seems how it is now. It's like pretty much every kids movie just has to be animated.
Well, they still make like Percy Jackson, right?
Yeah, that's not like a little kids movie.
It is.
Yeah.
I mean, it's as little a kids movie as Neverending Story or Labyrinth was.
I guess so.
Like I guess it's probably just they've started to aim, instead of directly generally at children, they aim at age groups now. And that really just makes movies, I think, worse overall. Because yeah, dude, my parents plopped me down in front of some crazy shit when I was a kid that were kids movies, I'm trying to think. Oh yeah, dude, the Ralph Bakshi kind of animation stuff that came out, The Secret of Nim. Dude, that movie is scary. That movie scared the shit out of me as a kid, and it's an animated film. Same thing goes for like American Tail. American Tail is a great movie, and it has some genuinely scary shit in it. Some genuinely like menacing scariness in it. It's really good. Those movies. I just miss that time. I miss the time when kids shows didn't condescend to children. Or at least not as hard as they do now.
Yeah.
Like I think they allotted for like kids knowing about bad things, because a lot of kids grew up and had people die or lived in crime-ridden areas, and so they were touching those kids' lives, as well as giving kids maybe that weren't living like that a peek into other kids' lives.
I think they had to sell it to parents more back then too. Like it had to be interesting to the parents.
Well, yeah, because you had to take your kid to the movie.
And now I think they're like, oh, parents are just gonna get this to shut their kids up. They're not gonna have to enjoy it too.
A lot of the early Pixar movies were like that. They were really trying to like entertain parents and kids. So they started doing these like nostalgia bomb crossover kind of movies, like Wreck-It Ralph. Wreck-It Ralph, clearly a movie made to entertain children, but it's filled with nostalgic references to old video game characters that clearly the parents at the time it came out would have recognized. And they always, like, if you look at those movies too, like The Incredibles and like that, they always have like adult humor in them, like little wry kind of like pseudo-sexual jokes that kids aren't meant to get. So, but you're right about that. I feel like that like children's entertainment has reached a point now where it's really stratified. They've started to really like age target shit, which maybe it's better for kids. I don't know. or maybe kids are having more fun with it. But I feel like I was so shaped by a lot of the media that I saw as a kid. A lot of my interests, at least as an adult, were shaped by the things that I was watching and consuming as a kid. And I just don't know what that means for kids now that are just watching totally gobbledygooky nonsense, you know? Just means they're going to be into anime. A lot of them already are. Fucking Pokemon is a straight up anime, like, it's an anime gateway drug. Parents need to be aware. Your kid starts talking about, like, Pikachus and fucking Bulbasaurs and shit, you need to cut that shit off.
Yeah. Well, that's old school now. Kids don't watch Pokemon anymore.
Yeah. I guess you're right, huh? That's the, you know what the sad thing is when Pokemon came out, I was too old for it.
Yeah.
And now it's completely like, well, I don't know. I guess older people, like the people that were into Pokemon when it came out, are the people that are still buying Pokemon.
Yeah.
It's my favorite thing. I'm a normal functioning adult. What, anime? Pokemon is awesome. I'm sorry. The show, not so much, but the game is fun. Oh, Pokemon. Yeah. I think Poke ruined a whole Poke generation. I really do, dude. Like, because there's no analog for me. There really isn't. It's like, I look back at the shit that was crazy when I was a kid. Super Mario Brothers and the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and shit. And it's just like everybody I know moved on past that phase. You know, it's like at some point, Ninja Turtles, no thank you. You know, I'm moving on. And I feel like there's this whole kind of generation of people that are stuck in this kind of like second childhood, where they cling so hard to these properties of their childhood that they fail to like expose themselves to newer things.
It's hyper commoditized too. It's like, look at all these characters. You gotta collect all the fucking 250 Pokemon or whatever.
Yeah. True that. And then they just keep making more. There's like something like 10,000 Pokemans now. I work a 40-plus hour work week, married with a kid on the way, and I watch anime. I'm fine, Paul. Sounds like you're trying to convince yourself, not me. That's all I'm saying. That's all I have. That's all my commentary in total on that statement. Sound like you were way more convincing yourself than me, but whatever, bud. Good for you. Some people just listen to the music from their youth. I mean, yeah, that's true. I like going back and listening to the music of my teen years and shit, but I still listen to new music and stuff too, and shit from way before I was born. I'm not saying that's the way you have to be, but it seems indicative of being stuck in that kind of mentality.
We don't have like a bunch of merch from all that music that you surround yourself with.
I have some. I have a couple Nirvana shirts.
Yeah, but you don't have like fucking Nirvana posters everywhere, plus fucking little Nirvana plushies and
The Nirvana Funko Pops. Got the whole band, man.
Oh God, Nirvana Funko.
They have them. They've got Kurt Cobain. They've got the whole band. At least they did. I don't know if they're still for sale.
You know what the weirdest one I saw was? They made one for Twin Peaks with like Laura wrapped in plastic.
What the fuck? Laura's corpse and wrapped in plastic.
Yeah.
Holy shit. That's dark, Funko Pop. That's dark. Dude, what a fucking amazing business model they came up with.
Yeah.
They were like, what are people into? Nostalgia and ooh-woo little fucking anime-looking things. Let's make an anime-looking uwu thing of everything that's nostalgic.
Yeah. Everything
Boom.
that ever exists.
Yep, everything that anybody could possibly have nostalgia for, we make a little uwu doll of it and sell it to them for $25. It's like, whoa. Wish I would have thought of that shit. I actually don't hate Funko Pops. I have a couple of them that were gotten for me as presents and shit, and I'm not sad that I have them. They're pretty cool. Like I've got a couple of Ripleys. I've got Battle Ready Ripley, and then I've got Ripley with Jonesy the cat, and then I've got the Queen Alien Funko Pop, which is like a big Funko Pop. It's like a giant one. That's the only ones I've got, though, I think.
You got like a little, little tiny one.
Yeah, I've got some mini ones. I've got a little tiny mini Cthulhu one. A Funko Lava Bug. Yeah, we should get that for Scotty. Only have one Funko Pop. Lopan from Big Trouble in Little China. There you go. Everybody's got a Funko Pop, man.
You need some DFF Funkos, man.
Yeah, get Funko making some DFFs, dude. TJ could have like a little banana coming out of his ass. I could be a functional salt shaker Funko Pop where you pull my head off and you can put salt in me and use the Funko Pop as a salt shaker. I'm down with it. Somebody call Funko. Get on the horn with Funko. Maybe we should just make a Paul salt shaker.
Maybe. Wouldn't be bad.
Just have somebody like 3D print me like all like, and then just make the head something you can pop off and like sprinkle salt on your food with. Why the fuck not? It couldn't be that hard, right?
Salt shakers are a good medium for that too. People are willing to be a little crazier with their salt shakers.
Yeah, everybody wants to have a salt shaker with a story behind it. What's this crazy salt shaker? I used to watch this Salty Fuck back in the day. We've had chibi drawings of us before. Like the little Animu shit. Trust me, back in the DFF or DP days especially, there was a heavy, heavy anime crossover. Yeah, dude. A Paul salt shaker, a TJ SpaghettiOs can opener, and a fucking Scotty spam key.
Yeah.
So you don't have to use the flimsy one that's on the can.
Yeah.
You got the Scotty Forever spam key. Honestly, I just like the stuff, little bits and bobs that give you a little blast of endorphins when you look at it because it's cute or something. Dude, the Scotty spam key would be dope, dude. That's a great idea. I love on the new shirt that we're selling. It's a great design, and I love the quality of the shirt that's on it. But my favorite thing about it is that Scotty, even though he's a little cheesy poof, looks the most like Scotty. Out of all of us, you know what I mean, that look, you can tell it's me, you can tell it's TJ, but that Scotty cheesy poof, that is undeniably Scotty. It's 100% Scotty. I don't know how they captured Scotty and cheesy poof for him, but right there he is on the shirt. Remember Jesus, Scotty, dude, I have to see him all the time. I thought I might be wearing the but I'm not. But I've got the fucking hoodie. I wear it all the time. My wife's got the hoodie. She wears it all the time, dude. Scotty is Thor.
Well, actually, I don't have any hoodies. I've only ever stolen yours. I got shirts.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's true. Well, you have a hoodie on the way.
Oh, yeah?
Uh-huh.
What color did you get me?
I think I got you a purple one.
Yeah.
I think.
I mean, they're all cool in their own way.
Yeah.
I trust you.
Yeah, I think I got you the purple one. It looks pretty dope. I wanted to get a green one, but the green ones only go up to 2X. I was like, what? We really got to work with fucking Bonfire. Now that we've got an inn over there, because we sell a lot of shirts for them, we've got our own rep and shit. We got to tell them, like, look, we need you to help us source some fucking 4X sizes and shit. We got fat people, not only on the show.
The fucking shortages, man.
I don't think it's that, dude. Because this was a problem over on fucking Teespring, too.
Yeah, they just don't stop.
Certain colors... Yeah. They assume that a fat guy's not going to wear a loud lime green shirt. Most fat colors are like earth tones. If you like fat people clothes, usually come in earth tones and blacks and shit. Dude, I want a big ass fucking tie-dye. I want that hippie tie-dye shirt.
So yeah, you just gotta tell them, it's like, swear to God, if you make all of these up to 5X, they're gonna sell like hotcakes.
Yeah, seriously, like, help us source this shit. Like, talk to your fucking tie-dye people and tell them, look, we're gonna do a limited run. We could even try it like that. Like, let us do a limited fucking large size run of this fucking hippy dippy shirt in both the black and the rainbow color.
Yep, 3X to 5X only.
Yep. And we'll prove to you that there's plenty of fat fucks in our audience that want that shit. I'd buy 3 of them. I'd buy 2 to wear, and then 1 hippy dippy one to just save to have when the other ones wore out fucking 20 years from now. Yeah. Black is slimming, it show is. Yeah, dude. Well, I always buy like a size or 2 above what I actually need because I like my clothes to be like oversized. And so that's why I want them to fucking put out the 3X and the 4X sizes and shit, because that's usually the sizes that I order and shit.
Yeah. Especially when you got a little belly, it's nice to have a little extra overhang so you don't like feel it coming out and stuff.
Yep. You gotta have, dude, it's the 90s aesthetic. Oversized everything. Ever thought about getting into screen printing? Nope. Billy the Fridge has the brightest clothes. That's true. He does. Two cups of coffee have put me in the position of needing to pee. And I need to get myself just a glass of water, too, so I'm going to go do that. I've caffeinated. Now it's time to start hydrating. Ooh. Ooh. Time to hydrate.
What?
When I was walking in just now, I could see Cricket's shadow by the door.
Yeah.
It just makes me laugh. He thinks he's being sneaky.
I don't even think he does. I think he just likes the attention of going pss, pss.
Yeah, he likes the pss, pss, pss.
And when he sometimes sneaks by, he likes being picked up.
Oh, can I scooch this a little? Sorry. Thank you. Cricket is a super ninja, bro. This morning I woke up and I kind of rolled over to see what Amelia was up to in her sleeping, because I always like to see, like, this is something I haven't even told her. I like to like guess what position did Amelia finally lock into, because sometimes she'll be like directly on her back sleeping soundly, sometimes she's curled up like in a total fetal position, and then sometimes she's completely off the pillow. And this morning it was off the pillow. And Cricket was curled up right on her face. And his face was where her face should be. So that was my first image this morning. I rolled over. It's like, whoa, hello, Cricket.
Do I really move around?
I mean, like, you just have different sleeping, arrangements that you end up in. The tight fetal position ball. The on your back kind of splayed out, and then the kind of like off the pillow, where just like, you ended up wherever you ended up,
These boys lock me in some nights.
Oh, dude, I'll wake up some nights and they've turned you into like a fucking Buddhist swastika. You're just like, Dinor's like tucked under your legs, so they're off this way. Cricket's up on your upper body, so your arms are like over here, and you're just like... These boys pin you in. Ugh. What happened, chat?
I went to bed.
Everybody go to sleep? Everybody's just so used to me carrying the fucking bucket of water this morning. You guys are lucky. You guys lucked out. You got a stream where I actually fucking carried the shit. Now things have slowed down and you don't want to heft your fucking part of the job. You're just sitting here, just wait for him to move on to another brilliant fucking ranch. No.
No, we were having a talk about us being in a relationship, and then all the single people got quiet.
They're like, working while listening. That ain't no excuse. Get fired to participate. Oh, I'm kidding.
I've never had a job where I could be on my phone.
Yeah, I had one where I could, but I just didn't have time to be.
Yeah.
I could have, and I knew a couple of people in my department who, were prone to do it. You know, just kind of like lock themselves in their office and sit on their phone for 30, 45 minutes a day, you know. But I just felt like I didn't have time to do it. What do you think we would have to do as a society to get prostitution legal? What will we have to do as a society?
You have to get everyone to think logically.
Yeah, I mean, like the education system seems like the answer to that.
Because it's like a simple fucking logic equation. It's happened since the dawn of time.
Yeah.
People are always gonna do it.
Yeah. Well, not only that, but you've got to unhinge people from the fucking moral argument, which means you've got to de-religionize people, de-religify. And the best way to do that is not directly, it's indirectly. Like the internet in general is the place where religions come to die. I genuinely believe that. Just like teaching a person to research and teaching a person to think critically and to question authority and to verify statements and to build like a critical thinking basis for their personality is the best thing that you could do. Because if we lived in a society of critical thinkers, prostitution would already be legal and regulated and safe, and human trafficking would be maybe not completely not a problem, but definitely not the problem that it is now. The exploitation and shit. I mean, like, I can't remember what I was watching, but I was watching some documentary back when we were in Louisiana. I was up late at night, as I often am. I was watching some documentary about how they pipeline like 18-year-old girls that are just like fresh, like some of them still in high school, and get them to drop out and come to LA with all these promises of like, oh, you're going to make $2,000 a week. And then they book them on a bunch of like crazy degrading porn shoots and then send them home with like $500, you know? It's just like this rotating exploitation
Like
industry.
American Girls and shit.
Yeah. And it's just like, it's like, well, how do we get around the human trafficking thing? Well, let's just have the girls, as soon as they're fucking legal, do it themselves. They're legal adults. They can drive across the country and they can be in porn. And it's just like, technically, yeah, but what does that mean for them? And it's just it followed a bunch of these young girls who had been enticed by these modeling agencies or whatever. Like a lot of them came down under the pretense that they would be doing like
magazine shoots and shit.
Yeah, or like racy pictures. And they ended up doing like hardcore fucking porn for 6 months until they couldn't do it anymore.
And they're all like they've never been before.
Yep.
Probably
being led around by people who don't have their best interests at heart, who really just want to profit off of them.
Probably spent all the money they had just to get there, assuming they'd make their money back.
Well, not only that, but what money they do get, they're encouraged. They're in an industry that's filled with drugs, and so they end up like shipping back home to Kansas with a drug habit and horrible memories of, you know what I mean, sexual abuse.
I do think that's kind of an upside of like the whole OnlyFans thing, is that it's putting women in power in their own fucking porn stuff.
Yeah, I mean, but don't you think it's still being used by dudes or other people to exploit? What would stop somebody from setting up an OnlyFans account for somebody who's kind of reluctant, but using their domineering nature in the fucking relationship to force them to do this kind of shit?
I mean, that's definitely a possibility, but I feel like it has more freedom than like working for like a porn studio.
For sure, yeah, no argument there. Well, I mean, like you just said, the porn industry has a lot of skeletons in its closet. I mean, like, look at what just happened to fucking, what's his name? Ron Jeremy. Yeah. This guy was like beloved in this country as this like goofy porn icon that was just a nice guy in real life. And it turns out he was just like a multiple fucking rapist. You know what I mean? And you think Ron Jeremy was the only dude doing that? How do you think he got away with it for so long? Everybody's doing it. I don't know, dude. One of those things.
Sticky.
On one hand, you have the body autonomy libertarian argument of like, if we're going to make people legally emancipated at 18, what they do is none of our fucking business. And then on the other hand, you've got these studios that are clearly, you know, like targeting young girls who don't know shit from Shinola in these, you know, flyover states with promises of glitz and glamour and fucking money and shit. And then sending them home all fucking broken with a drug habit. And you gotta go like, all right, well, like what's the morally correct thing to do here?
Critical thinking again.
Yep. And that's really like what is needed.
Like, 'cause the only way you can really stop that is educating people enough to, you know, be.
Well, not only there's other ways you could stop it too.
Yeah.
You could stop it by legislating it and regulating it so that there's no exploitation going on. Setting the minimum age for appearance in pornography higher than fucking 18. Like if you're going to be in pornography or you're going to work as a fucking prostitute, you got to be 21.
I mean, that was weird, like when I went to New Orleans the first time, because New Orleans is like hardcore 21 only in strip clubs. A lot of other places are 18.
Because all other strip clubs are based on getting you drunk so you spend way more money than you should. They don't want sober people sitting around in a strip club.
Yeah, they won't even let 18-year-olds be strippers.
No.
It's 21 only.
Right. And so it seems to me like that should be kind of uniform across the fucking porn industry, along with regulations that involve like
Contract laws, maybe.
contract law and inspections of these fucking shoots by, you know, not maybe not constantly, but having some oversight agency that makes sure that there's not exploitative shit, and having like a whistleblower line set up so that people that are in these industries can fucking tell if they need to, if people are exploiting them. All that shit needs to be codified and put into place.
Testing, codified.
Yep.
As much as, you know, 18-year-olds want to be adults and make all their own decisions, there's definitely some stuff that's not quite there when you're 18.
Well, you know, the age thing is one aspect of it. It's just exploitative.
Yeah.
It's exploitative to tell people, hey, we're going to do some like topless photo shoots or whatever, and you're going to make $10,000. And then when they show up, it's pipelining them into like doing a bunch of gangbangs and anal sex and shit that they never wanted to do. And then they get them hooked on drugs, and it becomes a sick. It's like turning somebody out for illegal prostitution almost. But the John is everybody that would, you know, go to fucking Pornhub and look them up. That type of shit has to, you know, like the age of the person matters, but what matters to me more is just the exploitative nature of it. Well, that whole the brain ain't fully developed and fully functional until you're 25 meme it's a bit of a meme. People individuate in their teens and 20s. And it's a process. And at 18, you're at a certain point in that process. And at 21, 22, 23, you're at another point in that process. You're much closer to, you know, what we would call like individuated at that point. And a lot of that is very dependent person to person, too. There are a lot of girls at 18 that would get an offer like that and go like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, what do I look like? Stupid? No, thank you. You know what I mean? It's not like every fucking chick is biting the bait. You know what I mean? But enough are. So. Well, legally regulating it and taking it out of the hands of these exploitative, shady porn production companies and creating a baseline for how this shit has to be done and what the rights of the performers are and all of that would do nothing but improve the lives of people who choose to go that route, because the libertarian streak in me says there are certain people that's what they want to fucking do. And it is not my job to be like, you can't get poked for money or you can't fuck somebody for money. You know, that to me is Puritanism. But there's a line, there's a halfway point between complete and utter permissiveness and a fucking industry that's safe for everybody that's involved.
Well, like, increasing regulation would ensure that the people involved are people that actually want to be involved, not people trafficked into it.
Right. So, I don't know.
Because I think of how many people that are really into it, that want that to be their whole career, or like, you know, they don't get roles because they can just get some fucking 18-year-old from Kansas for cheap.
Right. And it's like their whole replaceability factor.
Yeah.
It's like back in the day, there used to be porn stars. You know, when I was a kid, there were like, there was still amateurish porn, but most porn was like,
you'd have like
established women who you knew that Jenna Jameson was one of them that I remember. I can't remember a lot of their names because I wasn't a real big porn hound back in the day, at least not that type of porn. I was more of a picture-based porn guy, I guess, but because finding porn movies was just too hard. But if I were the type of person that would have gone in to get movies and shit, they would have had Jenna Jameson in them. They would have had this person, that person. And these people had, some power in their careers. They were a name. They got to, at some level, dictate the terms of what they did and when they did it. And the kind of amateur porn market has completely removed that. When you're just like Janie Schmaney that flew in from fucking Kansas 3 days after her 18th birthday, dude, you got no fucking power over your position. You've got no knowledge on how to demand rights for yourself. It's just funny the rituals that used to exist around porn that are now completely defunct.
Yeah.
I remember the first big breakup I had in the early 2000s. A friend of mine brought me a garbage bag filled with porn.
Yeah.
He was like, bro, look, there's other fish in the sea, and I brought you a bag full of them. It was just a bunch of porno mags, you know what I mean? Like, who does that anymore? That just is like an experience it's like a meaningless social gesture. It would actually be gross now, probably. It would be looked at as like weird and gross. Here's my jerk-off material, bro. You can use it for a while. But back in the day, it was like, aw, bro.
The premiere's starting. I'm gonna link it.
Oh, yeah, link the premiere. For sure. Link it up and link it out. The premiere is starting now. I'm going to go ahead and end this. Go watch it. Go have fun. Go be informed. Slap your mama in the face with a trout.